Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Jolly by Nature, and we are back bringing you our team builder for week 2 of the Blastburn Radio Community Draft League Season 3 VGC style doubles. And we're really excited. We didn't have the best possible week 1. Spoilers, we got mollywopped a little bit, got a bit of a rude welcome to the format and the league. That being said, we're definitely looking to turn that around this week, and we have a really fun and interesting matchup, and I am really excited to give it a try. I'm also really excited to bring our team this week and bring some Mon that we didn't get the chance to bring last week. We got a few first faces here coming out this week against ManicPixieFatGuy and the Motor City Mamoswines. That's a lot of M sounds all at once. But yeah, Manic, of course, is a great friend of the community. Has been around for a long time, has participated in every community draft that we've done with BBR, and we're really excited to have him back and participating, and we're really excited to face off against him this week. Now, taking a look at Manic's draft. So spoilers, guys, this is the second time I'm recording this particular video because we are matching Manic very, very early in the week. Actually, as of today, it is Sunday. It is day 1 of week 2, and our match is later today. So we had built our team yesterday. We had it exactly locked in the way we wanted it. We recorded our team builder, and then about 15 minutes before the end of week cutoff, Manic made a free agency move, and a really big and important free agency move. And so I had to go back and re-examine everything we built and go, okay, does this still work? How do we adjust it to make it work better for this new normal in this particular matchup? And it was just a thing. That being said, kudos to Manic. I think that with this one move, he's immediately made his roster substantially stronger, even while moving like down in power tiers overall. And I think there's definitely obvious room for growth even beyond that. So Manic's team currently as it exists consists of Gigantamax Hatterene, Kingdra, Volcarona, Crocodile, Palosand, Comfey, Pelipper, Excelgor, that's the one, Oranguru, Malamar, Eldegoss, and Grapploct. And the big move in particular that was made at the 11th hour last night was dropping Rhyperior, who Manic picked up in the draft, in favor of that Volcarona. And I think that was overall an incredible move for this team. Admittedly, the Trick Room option is less threatening now. Really, Hatterene being like the only premier top tier Trick Room abuser. Palosand's also very slow, but needs support other than a Trick Room setter in order to be very good. But I feel like what he gained outweighs what he lost by a substantial margin. Volcarona is an incredible Pokemon, and I think that it gains a lot in doubles and in draft format, specifically because of how many different things it can do. It is a redirection mon, which is something this team was missing in its entirety. It gets access to Rage Powder, which isn't as good as Follow Me, considering it doesn't work on grass types. It doesn't work on anything immune to powder moves by way of things like Overcoat or Safety Goggles, but there's only 2 redirection moves, and only so many things in the format get Follow Me. So having a Rage Powder Mon is definitely a really solid like secondary option there. It also gets Flame Body, which means that if anything hits into it with a contact move, there's a chance it's going to get burned, which is a really strong way to augment its frankly poor physical defense and make physical attackers not want to punch into it, which is really, really good. It has access to an incredible supportive move pool with moves like String Shot, which is actually really good. It drops both of the opposing mon on the field's speed stat by 2 stages. It's almost like an inverse Trick Room, or not an inverse Trick Room, an inverse Tailwind, where instead of boosting your own speed by 2 stages, you're lowering your opponent's by 2 stages. It also gets access to Struggle Bug, which is basically Bug-type Snarl. It lowers the special attack stat of both opponents. And of course it gets access to Will-O-Wisp to manually set those burns, all of which is really, really good. And then Volcarona as an offensive threat needs no introduction. It gets access to Quiver Dance. It gets access to great coverage in the form of Psychic and Giga Drain. Its Stab obviously is really good in Stab Fire. In VGC that means Heat Wave, which is a great spread move that hits both sides of the field. It can also mean things like Fire Blast and Fiery Dance if you want, just depending on what you want out of your Fire Stab, or even Flamethrower. And then it gets Bug Buzz, which Bug is not the greatest stab, but like it has some pretty cool things going for it, particularly Bug Buzz, which hits behind things like Substitute because it's a sound move. And also Max Bug is underrated because it lowers the opponent's special attack. It's like using a Snarl and a Max move all at once. So those are all really good things. And this cannot be understated, Volcarona gets access to Hurricane. Volcarona has traditionally been used as a fire type on rain teams because it has such strong moves that are not just fire and just has options with Quiver Dance, and especially with abusing Hurricane and Rain. And this team has a rain option with the Pelipper and the Kingdra. So there's a lot of like really, really strong synergy here. I like this pickup a lot for this team. This team did not have a fire type at all. Now it has one of the strongest fire types in Pokemon. But yeah, moving beyond that, G-Max Hatterene is a colossal threat under Trick Room. It was lacking an ability to reliably get Trick Room up. Volcarona helps there a lot because now it can redirect and try to set Trick Room, or it can run alongside something like Comfey or Oranguru. Comfey can ally switch to help assist it with getting Trick Room up, or Comfey can set the Trick Room while Hatterene protects. Like there's just a lot of different options here. As far as getting Trick Room up. And then Hatterene's always a great Trick Room setter because it's naturally immune to things like Taunt because of its magic bounce, unless you like taunting with Mold Breaker Haxorus, for instance. So it's suddenly a lot more difficult to stop Hatterene from getting the Trick Room up, although again, what it does with Trick Room once it's up has taken a bit of a nosedive without that Rhyperior. The rain option here is really strong. Pelipper is not the premier doubles rain setter, but it's still really good, and it's pretty slow, so it can also like be offensively threatening, particularly under that Trick Room threat. And then Kingdra is the premier rain sweeper in VGC doubles. Not maybe as good as some of the other weather sweepers, certainly lacks some offensive oomph when compared to the likes of Excadrill or Venusaur, but still very strong overall. I mean, if you run up Modest Life Orb and Dynamax with water, flying, and dragon coverage, like that's not nothing. Or you could just not max it and throw specs on that boy and just hit super hard. I like Crocodile here. Crocodile is a really strong dark type option. It's almost like a budget Incineroar in the fact that it gets Intimidate, it can Snarl. Obviously it lacks Fake Out and Parting Shot, which stinks, but it gets access to other really cool options that help mitigate that. It has other good abilities in Moxie and Anger Points. It has really great coverage. Crocodile is something we want to be very aware of when team building this week. And then Manic, when drafting, started in the low tiers and got some really cool synergies in their low tier picks in this draft. Excelgor, Palossand are two mon that are really nothing to write home about separately, but can be really, really powerful together in conjunction. Excelgor gets the move Water Shuriken, which with Greninja out of the meta is a unique move to Excelgor in the current metagame. And Water Shuriken is a priority water type move that hits 2 to 5 times. Meanwhile, Palossand has the ability Water Compaction, which every time it is hit by a water type attack, boosts its defense, its physical defense by 2 stages, which means as long as you get 3 Water Shuriken hits off, if you Water Shuriken into your own Palossand, on turn 1 potentially, you can get maximum physical defense, activate your own weakness policy, and then if you go for like a max ground, a max quake, you can also get +1 special defense. So you can suddenly just become this massively bulky behemoth that is impossible to kill, which is really, really, really potent. Likewise, in the very lowest picks, you have Malamar, who is a contrary mon. It has the ability Contrary, which makes stat boosts become stat drops, and stat drops become stat boosts, which is interesting. And normally Malamar is just used kind of to spam superpower. Like it just clicks superpower, and its attack and defense, instead of going down, go up. But its stats are middling to low overall. It's not a huge threat. But then specifically Manic has paired it here with the Eldegoss, who with its Cotton Down ability, when it's hit into, lowers the speed of everything on the field, which in the case of Malamar would raise its speed. And then also Grapple Locked, whose signature move Octolock locks in a target and every turn drops its defense, which if you used Friendly Fire into Malamar would raise its defense by 1 stage every turn. So some really like cool options here. I don't know like how well they're going to keep pace with like top tier threats necessarily, which is why again picking up that Volcarona was so huge for Manic, both because it gives him a really top tier offensive threat to play with, and also really great support to make his already scary offensive threats that much scarier. Yeah, like this team, talking about it right now, a lot scarier than when I was talking about it yesterday. I do think there are some synergy issues in some of the middle picks, particularly the Comfey now, especially now without the Rhyperior. Like I look at Comfey and I'm just kind of like, well, what does it do? As compared to like the Hatterene, who already gives you a strong fairy type. I struggle to see the value that it brings necessarily, but I mean at the same time it's also just like a pretty solid fairy type in its own right. I'm sure that Manic will find fun and cool and interesting ways to use it. So from Manic this week, I definitely expect to see the Raincore. I definitely expect to see Pelipper Kingdra. Definitely expect to see Gmax Hatterene and Volcarona. If I had to guess, I would say we're going to see a supported Volcarona this week supporting Hatterene. I could definitely be wrong about that. One thing that I will say is looking at my... Ooh, blah, blah, blah. Don't want that. Looking at my own roster, I actually think that Volcarona's offensive coverage is pretty scary towards me. I have a lot of psychic types that are weak to Bug Buzz, and then I also have a fair few things that are weak to fire as well. So like an offensive Volcarona set wouldn't be shocking, but I don't necessarily expect it either, especially because I do have that Clefable with Unaware, which means that it's going to be very difficult to like set up Quiver Dance in my face offensively, because I can just Unaware follow me, and unless you're clicking a spread move, your Quiver Dance means nothing. But yeah, that is... God, why? Sorry, a little bit of technical difficulties. That's my opponent's team. So let's talk about my team, the team that we are bringing. We are kicking things off this week with a Mon that did not see use last week, and I'm really excited to bring him out for the first time here. We're bringing out Allegro, our Porygon Z. We're running a modest Porygon Z set. When we look at our opponent's roster, his truly fast Mon, we were not outspeeding outside of Tailwind, no matter what we do. So when you look at that, the Excelgor, the Comfey, the Volcarona, even the Crocodile, no way for Porygon Z to outspeed them unless we have some sort of speed boost at play, like the Tailwind to help push us over the top. So we decided rather than going timid max speed, we would just go modest and put enough speed investment in to outspeed modest Kingdra. Kingdra very rarely wants to go timid or jolly if it's physical, because it really needs the offensive punch of the extra offensive stats to be an effective sweeper. So with this set, if we can deny rain or if we can set Tailwind, we outspeed Kingdra 100% of the time, and we do a huge chunk, 220 investment in special attack with a special attack boosting nature, adaptability, max strike at a hyper beam, or just straight hyper beam if we're not Dynamax, because there's no loss in power for going for hyper beam. We just lose the lack of recoil and the secondary effect. We hit so hard. We secure Okos against almost anything my opponent can bring. His only switch in for max strike from Porygon Z is the Palossand. I don't expect Palossand to come this week. I think it has a poor matchup against me overall, particularly because like it sets up in physical defense, and we have very few physical attackers on this team. But if it doesn't come, I can just click Hyper Beam all day long without fear, and something is going to die every single time, and it's glorious. There are a few things that, when Dynamaxed in particular, can live a Hyper Beam or a Max Strike from Porygon Z, but we have ways to work around that, and we'll get to them. I failed to update this slide fully. That's my fault. We are no longer running Solar Beam. Solar Beam was there for the Rhyperior. It is gone now. We're actually running Tri-Attack in that slot, so that when we are not Dynamaxed, we have a normal stab option to click that does not come with a turn of recoil if the extra damage is not needed. I don't expect we're going to click Tri-Attack very often. We're not going to click Dark Pulse very often either. Dark Pulse is here 100% for Palo Sand. That's the only thing we ever click that move against. Mostly we just click Hyper Beam or Max Strike out of Hyper Beam and something dies. That is Porygon's job. We're also bringing back Tempo the Whimsicott this week. And Tempo, this is both a very similar and a very different set to what we were running a day ago. We are running a fully specially defensive set. Max HP, max Spadef with a calm nature. And we're rocking the Coba Berry. We needed our focus sash elsewhere this week. So we had to decide, well, where is our item best spent on Whimsicott? And ultimately what we decided is there are a lot of options that might try to go for a flying type move or a max airstream into Whimsicott. The Kingdra, the Pelipper, potentially even the Volcarona, if they want the speed boost, might decide to just, well, you know, it's gonna KO regardless. And it super doesn't with the Coba Berry. It lets us live those hits, which is very good. We live almost every hit. With this spread, we have to watch out for Iron Tail Crocodile, either just clicking Iron Tail and landing it or going for a max Steel Spike out of Iron Tail, since we didn't really build into physical defense this week. But that's really the only physical threat we need to watch out for. And as far as special threats are concerned, we live a 2-target Heat Wave from Timid Max Special Attack Volcarona. We have a 60% chance of living from Modest, and that's Life Orb boosted as well. The only real problem is like a single target fire attack into Whimsicott, we just crumple. But we also have Prankster, which means that like they can't KO us and prevent us from getting Tailwind up, or like if it's the rain option, stop us from setting Sun. Because we are running Dazzling Gleam, Tailwind, Sunny Day, and Helping Hand this week. Again, Tailwind for speed, obviously. Sunny Day specifically to deny Sun to the rain option. That is less attractive now with the Volcarona than it was before there was a fire type on this team. But like again, against the right team comp, it's still a very legitimate option. Dazzling Gleam is here basically just to break sashes. I don't expect Whimsicott to live long on the field, if I'm being entirely honest, unless they just ignore it, I suppose. But if they do just ignore it, we are also running Helping Hand this week. And all of those Occos into Dynamax Mon that I said that Porygon Z does not secure, Porygon Z secures with a Helping Hand. So it's really, really good. Also worth noting that none of these Prankster moves are stopped by Psychic Terrain because they all target either myself and my allies or the field and not the opponents. So put that in your pocket, but not for long, because our next mod on the team this week is Crescendo, the Indeedee male. We're rocking a Modest max special attack set here. And again, we put just enough speed investment into this set to outspeed our own Porygon Z, actually. Again, we couldn't outspeed really anything faster. We could technically outspeed Crocodile, but we can't hit Crocodile, so that was very much like an academic pursuit at that point. And so I was like, well, as long as we outspeed Kingdra, again, that's valuable. But I didn't want to speed tie on my own side of the field. Not that I think it super matters with these sets which one goes first, but like I feel like it is important to know when it comes to your own Mon, their speed tiers, and know if this and this are out at the same time, which one of them move first. And so we know that Crescendo, the Indeedee male, will always move before Allegro, the Porygon Z, if they are both on the field. Max special attack investment, a significant speed investment, and a little bit of bulk, 60 points in HP for each defense. And this is an Imprison Indeedee set. We're rocking the Focus Sash, Imprison, Expanding Force, Trick Room, and Protect, which is really valuable, particularly now with that Volcarona and knowing that it can Rage Powder. Imprison Trick Room is our best, maybe only way of reliably denying Trick Room to our opponent. Now that being said, that's not to say that we never want Trick Room to go up. In fact, we might be setting our own Trick Room sometimes, depending on what exactly my opponent brings against us. But we definitely don't want them setting it on their terms. And with this set, we can pretty reliably deny that. We have the Focus Sash, so unless they double into Indeedee, we can deny it for 2 turns. At the very minimum, we can deny it for 1, and we just have to be able to aggressively deal with the Hatterene at that point. Also worth noting, we're imprisoning Expanding Force and Protect, which means if Manic decides to run Expanding Force on his Hatterene, he probably will. He knows we have access to Psychic Terrain. He can't use it as long as Indeedee's alive. He can't use Protect on anything on his side of the field as long as Indeedee's alive, which is really, really strong. Indeedee, like, again, has a pretty offensive set, modest max special attack. I don't see myself going for Expanding Force very often. It's almost always going to be Imprison and then Protect, trying to maximize the number of turns Indeedee is on the field and disrupting my opponent. I mean, I guess unless I just look at it and go, I can just double KO here, right? That's the dream. The next mon on our team this week is going to be Aria the Clefable, who is coming back as well. We are also running a very specially bulky set here. 240 investment in HP, 220 in SPDF with a Calm Nature, and a 48 investment in physical defense. And there is no offensive move on Aria this week. It's all support. We are rocking Follow Me, Helping Hand, Light Screen, and Reflect. Please, Manic, please do not taunt my Clefable. But Aria... So Aria initially, I'm going to be entirely honest, when I first built this team, was here for team preview, was here so that Manic would go, okay, if I am running Palo-Sand and Excelgor, I can't just mindlessly spam that, because if I get Follow Me, then it doesn't go off, right? But now with the Volcarona, Aria is a legitimate value to this team because of Unaware. If it does turn out to be an offensive Quiver Dance Volcarona, Aria walls it pretty well. Any hits from it are a 3-hit KO. Does not matter what they are. Nothing 2-hit KOs Aria, unless it's Dynamaxed, in which case Max Flare is a straight 2-hit KO. But we are rocking dual screens, so like in that situation we can set up Light Screen to help the rest of the team live better once Clef goes down. Again, Follow Me, Helping Hand. Helping Hand from Clefable is just as good as Helping Hand from Whimsicott, and then Follow Me is going to help certain things live and stay on the field, which is very, very good. I don't know if Clef comes to any of our matches this week. I think it largely depends on how they go and what Manic brings, but it's a really strong option to have on the bench. And I mean, it could potentially be game winning for us, depending on what exactly Manic brings against us. I definitely don't think it comes to game 1, though. We are bringing Escavalier, Staccato the Escavalier this week, and this set is really... Well, it was really cool. I had to make it less cool for obvious reasons. So initially when we built our Escavalier, we actually built it to be Adamant 4 speed. And the reason for that was that let us outspeed minimum speed Rhyperior by 1, and then we were rocking Room Service, which meant that essentially if our opponent was rocking like Rhyperior Hatterene at minimum speed for a Trick Room option, we outsped them outside of Trick Room. If they got the Trick Room up, then the Room Service would go off and we'd outspeed them in Trick Room. And that's because both of them are very easily able to run very powerful fire coverage, or reasonably powerful. Hatterene gets Mystical Fire and Rhyperior gets Fire Punch. Rhyperior's gone, however, and is replaced by Volcarona, who will hit like a fuck you truck with Fire Stab. And is way, way faster than Escavalier. There's no way for Escavalier to outrun Volcarona outside of Trick Room, and so we had to go to a more traditional Occa Berry minimum speed set. And this is our Trick Room control. If Manic decides he does want to go hard Trick Room against us this week, Staccato underspeeds everything Manic has access to, as long as it does not have like Iron Ball or Room Service itself. We're rocking Overcoat, which means that we can ignore Rage Powder if it is like a supportive Volcarona. Like in an example scenario, if my opponent leads supportive Volcarona and Trick Room Hatterene, and I lead this Escavalier and our Indeedee male, I can just click Imprison and then Iron Head into the Hatterene. And I can know that 100% of the time I have denied Trick Room. Hatterene is going to take a ton of damage, potentially even die, depending on its spread and whether or not it's holding the Focus Sash. Just for reference, this Escavalier, no Dynamax, versus Hatterene, no Dynamax. Ironhead is a 93.8 chance to Occa. So if it's a minimum roll, it could live, or if it's Focus Sash, it could live. Otherwise, it just goes down, which is really good. And then with Hatterene down, if we want, we can set our own Trick Room, and suddenly Escavalier is the fastest thing on the field. It's very good. We're rocking Megahorn, which is actually very good coverage against our opponent's team. None of the dark types want to eat it. The grass type does not want to eat it. Malamar in particular especially does not want to eat it. And then also, again, it lowers special attack on the opponent's side of the field, which means it's a pretty solid option to hit into Kingdra and neuter the rain option. Razor Shell is here pretty much exclusively for Volcarona. Max Geyser from Razor Shell KOs most Volcarona sets and just does a really good job there. And then Knockoff, I guess, is technically here for Palo Sand, but really is just like if I expect something swapping and I don't know into what, I can just click Knockoff and remove an item. It's nice. Now our last mon this week is our Beheeyem Adagio, who is also coming for the first time. And I think this is a really cool set. We're running minimum speed again, quiet, 0 speed, analytic, and we're rocking the power herb, max special attack investment, substantial bulk investment, 196 HP, 28 in defense, 32 in special defense. We're rocking Expanding Force, because of course. We're rocking Energy Ball, which gives us an option to hit into the Crocodile and the Palo Sand. We're rocking Protect, and we're rocking Meteor Beam. And Meteor Beam is here to get special attack boosts, which are really good, but also specifically to fuck up Volcarona's day. Because it's a very, very powerful special rock type attack, which I don't expect my opponent will be heavily prepped for. They won't be likely rocking a rock reducing berry, because I have no rock type on my team. I would be shocked if Manic looked at my team and said, Meteor Beam Beheeyem, that's the tech. But that is the tech. That is what we are bringing, and it does so much damage. Against offensive Beheeyem, we one-shot Dynamax. It is gnarly. And again, regardless, like even if Volcarona's not on the field, we can click Meteor Beam, have it go off in one turn, get the +1 special attack on this already sky-high special attack stat, and then we can Dynamax. So a lot of cool options here. I'm really, really proud of this team. I threw it together really rapidly. I'm not going to lie. Like when we matched today, I built this team in about 2 hours yesterday and then spent about an hour today adjusting it to fit the current roster. And we haven't play tested it. So it's entirely possible that Manic is going to bring some killer tech that I did not remotely consider. It is also entirely possible that we just aren't as clever as we thought we were, or maybe we are as clever as we thought we were and we're going to blow him back. But you can expect that video here on the channel tomorrow. Look forward to it, and again, be sure to show your boy ManicPixieFatGuy some love. If you're a part of the Blastburn Radio community, if you're in the Discord and the social channels, be sure to show Manic some love, because he has definitely built something that is mad genius, as is kind of his norm. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today, guys. That is our team. I look forward to using it. I hope you guys look forward to watching the match. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I've been Jolly by Nature. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.